What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, Golden Dunkers Live. I'm Kendal Shell, along with me, my guy EJ Stevens. EJ, what's going on, boss?
Hey, what's going on, man? I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad you could jump on. I'm glad you can jump on. So, where are you located right now? Looks like we may have lost EJ for a second here. As we wait for EJ to get things going back here, I'll check and make sure he's good. Welcome everybody to another episode of Golden Dunkers Live. I know it's been a while since we've jumped on here. I'm excited just to get EJ back going once we get this connection back up and live here and talk a little bit about Gopher basketball and everything that's been going on throughout this season. Obviously, it hasn't been the greatest season so far from a basketball perspective, from a playing from a wins and losses perspective. But you know, I think from a player perspective and looking at what we're doing, from a basketball standpoint, you have to be happy with the effort. You have to be happy with the guys, and it seems like they're bought in, right? I think there's a lot of things from a production, from an execution standpoint that I think we obviously could get better at, but there are some things we just can't control, right? Such as injuries and things of that nature. But overall, feel like the program is in a good state, especially with the circumstances of what college basketball is right now and where the landscape is at. It's tough for all coaches. We see coaches across the country struggling, coaches with top recruiting classes struggling. So, with the opportunity to jump into the transfer portal as well as going and recruiting and kind of building that sustainable program, there's going to be your pros and your cons. I know we live in a world where it's instant gratification right now, so it's hard. It's hard to see this process through of what the Gophers are doing, but I'm just really excited about the team. Really excited about what they're doing, and everybody they brought in so far seems like it's been great. From the the basketball side of things, I think you look at the freshmen we have. This freshman class we have, I think, is phenomenal. I think it's great they're going up against so much already at a young age. Someone like a Pharrell Payne, right? A great player. He's played a huge role for a team that obviously a struggle, but where would we be without his body early on so long? So love him. Josh Joseph, his athleticism is through the roof. He reminds me of a Rodney Williams type game if we're comparing him to a gopher. But if Josh Joseph expands his game the right way, I see a lot of like a Victor Oladipo in Josh Joseph. To be honest, that's a guy that could really get to that level because of his athleticism and just his ability to cause havoc on all ends of the floor, no matter how his game is going, if that makes sense. So love both of those guys. I love what both can bring to us to the future. Braden Carrington, another guy who's unfortunately injured right now, but he was Mr. Minnesota for a reason. Fearless guy, you can tell. And he can shoot it. He's athletic. He's long. He can be a great defender. He can be a great defender, for the team. So Braden Carrington as well. Just look like his game, as well as the fourth freshman that we've seen play this year, and Jaden Henley. Jaden Henley, I think we saw a lot at the beginning of the season, not as much towards the end of the season, which is unfortunate. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more now, just because we have to with the lack in depth, with the lack in depth. But for everyone that just joined us, or is just joining us right now, we will be having EJ Stevens joining Golden Dunkers Live soon here. excited just to jump on. If you have any questions just about EJ Stevens' journey, about him playing for Ben Johnson, drop them in the chat. We'll be sure to discuss them. But just excited to talk Gopher basketball and talk to EJ here. But just getting back to the team this season, what I've seen. Obviously, the wins and losses, like I said, they're not where we want to be, but there's different things we should be looking at now, right? We should be looking at how this team is developing. We should be looking at how this team is responding. We should be looking at how this team comes out every single game. And for me, this team has come out every single game ready to fight. They've responded after tough losses, with some wins, with some close wins. I don't want to count the moral victories, but they've responded and they have the energy. It shows that they're bought in to what Ben Johnson is doing. So really excited about what's going on there and what they're doing from that standpoint. Obviously, the wins and losses, yeah, they're not there, but coaches across the country are struggling. There's a lot that we're not seeing production wise, from some of the best coaches. So it's tough here, but it looks like we have EJ back on the line here. So let's see if we can get EJ back in here and get things going. EJ, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, man? Having some Wi-Fi troubles, but hopefully I got it all figured out. We can get things going.
Yeah, for sure. No worries. I mean, it happens. It happens all the time. I think we see it all networks everywhere. So yeah, we'll definitely get going, man. But welcome, EJ. Welcome to the show. For those of you who don't know EJ, recent, recent Gopher basketball player, probably one of the most recent, we could have even had. So it's like we hit the jackpot here. We're getting the inside scoop, of what it looks like. And so excited to have you. Excited to have you on Dunkers Live. I think I can speak for all of Gopher Nation, all the alumni, saying we just respect everything you did just for the short time coming in, competing, wearing the maroon and gold. You know how tough it is coming in, honestly to the Big Ten, playing on a random raised court you've never seen before. Like there's just a lot of little things about it. And maybe, you can talk a little bit about it here, but just first just wanted to kind of, give you thanks to that and kind of jump into things, EJ. So first things first, before we get into your Gopher story, man, talk a little bit about when you first picked up the basketball, where you're from, and how you even got to the Gophers.
Yeah, man. First time I picked up a basketball had to be about 4 or 5 years old. My father introduced me to the game, and really, he's really the reason why I'm playing the game now. I played the game. Huge inspiration to me. Yep, about 4 or 5 started playing organized ball, first grade or second grade rec ball, which landed AAU. In high school, at different high school, and was blessed enough to get a Division 1 offer. I only had one offer out of high school, so that was nothing but God. So I just gotta give thanks to God. It actually happened because me and my dad made a highlight tape, and we sent emails out to hundreds of schools, and one wrote, and that's one who gave me a full scholarship at college. Blessed me to play, earn my undergrad in psychology. And then COVID hit. We all know how that happened. And we got the extra year of eligibility. And Coach Johnson actually was talking to me when he was an assistant at Xavier. And then he ended up getting the head coaching job at Minnesota. And the rest is my year, and we're here now.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, East Coast guy, Florida guy, right? Like, talk a little bit
Right.
about, talk a little bit about the culture difference. Coming from that to Minnesota, as a lot of people call
Man, it was a shock for sure. Being from South Florida, where winters are in the 70s and 80s, nice and warm. Um, but going to school in Pennsylvania for 4 years prepared me a little bit. So I had seen
it.
snow before and experienced some cold, but Minnesota's a whole nother beast. Let me tell you that. Thankfully, I had some family up there in Minnesota in Lakeview, so they could help prepare me a little bit. But yeah, big difference. I never experienced below freezing, or you walk outside and it feels like -20, and you got to walk 20 minutes of class.
Yeah.
But I loved it, man. I loved it.
it shows your commitment for the game and your love for the game, though. Makes that's all it does. Man, talk a little bit about, what you're wearing, the maroon and gold right now. Talk a little bit about just playing for the Gophers, like really kind of the feeling, obviously like me, I'm from St. Louis, you from Florida, you were in Pennsylvania. Like, if you don't know the Minnesota tradition and the program, then you just don't know it until you're kind of in it. So just talk a little bit about actually playing for the Gophers and just how that was, playing in the barn and just that experience.
But for all right reasons. I truly love my experience, even though it was only short-lived for 1 year. I thought it was really great. Like you mentioned, playing in a barn, on a raised court. You got students dressing up in animal costumes. You got the Minnesota chant going with all the fans. It was great. The barn was reasonably packed every game. Even though our record wasn't great last year, fans still showed love, and I can tell you everybody on that team appreciated it, from player to staff. But just playing in the Big Ten, playing in the barn, wearing the maroon and gold, it was an honor. Personally, for me to say that, just how historic the organization is, how historic the school is. At now two D1 schools in Minnesota, but for a long time, be the only D1 basketball school in Minnesota. Just carrying that heritage, carrying that culture, man, it was a blessing.
No, yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where it's a blessing because it's like all those major sports in Minnesota. I think me and Trevor Mbakwe, one other alumni, were just talking about that. Like, you're kind of at that same level when it comes to just media and the coverage and the newspaper and the articles and what it is. It's like it's cool to be there and to be a part of that. And I think that's the reason why
Yeah,
the University of Minnesota is a good opportunity, and playing in the Big Ten, I think, is a good opportunity for so many people. Speaking of that, man, Big Ten basketball, probably a little different than conference you came from. Talk a little bit about that, because for me, that was the main reason why I even decided to take a tougher route to go there, knowing I wouldn't play as much and whatever it may be. Because I was like, the Big Ten, that's a special conference when it comes to basketball and whatever it may be. So talk a little bit about playing in the Big Ten and Big Ten basketball for you.
yeah, man. Coming from a smaller conference, as you mentioned, coming from the Patriot League, by no means is anywhere near the competitive level of the Big Ten. There was an adjustment period for sure. A lot more physicality, a lot more speed, a lot more athleticism, and a lot more talent. I think the biggest separator between mid-major and Power Five conferences is the big man position. Just
Okay.
between the brute strength, the talent level, the athletic ability. So as a guard, sure you can relate to this. It's different when you're going in there finishing against a 7-footer as opposed to someone 6'6". you
Yeah.
know, so that was definitely an adjustment I had to make. But I think I made the adjustment well. I came in, I think I averaged about 10 points. We started the season off 9-0. We had a lot of new guys, a lot of guys from conferences similar to mine.
Yeah.
I think we came together team. We were a very experienced group. We all had one goal. We just wanted to win, and that's not how things ended for us. But I'm proud of the way things ended. I think we really showed what we were capable of, and made Gopher fans proud. But yeah, the Big Ten, man, I loved it. We got to play against lottery picks. We had Keegan Murray,
Yep.
Jaden Ivey, 5 in the NBA draft. Playing against the level of talent, you can kind of see where you are in your own game, and just being able to match up against guys like that. So it was special. I really enjoyed it.
For sure. No, yeah, I think that's definitely one of the cooler parts about talking about stories about, even a short time ago when I played 2011, 2015, was the guys that we saw that had kind of had success, right? Like, we got killed by Michigan State, but it's dope that it was Draymond during that time. You know what I mean? Like, so just seeing guys around that time,
Yeah.
it was cool to go against. And like, that's how you're probably gonna be in like 3, 4, 5 years from now, right? It's gonna be some guys that you even played against in that 1 year. They're gonna be probably a part of championship formulas in the league. Like, yeah, like I had to lace them
Yeah.
up against him. And so that is, I don't know, that's just something that I think that's why I feel like if you have the opportunity to experience it, I know every conference has its, perks, and if some games are meant for some conferences, but that Big Ten experience to be able to play against pros pretty much every conference game, you can't really trade that in for anything.
Yeah.
So That's definitely
Yeah.
dope. You talked about that team last year, man. I want to talk a little bit about that team and playing for Coach Johnson, playing for Ben Johnson, because I think you think you probably already know, like, a lot were surprised at that undefeated start, right? You brought in guys that from conferences, like you said, we hadn't seen before. First year for Coach Johnson, none of you really played together before, so like
Right.
I'm like really interested. Like, one, talk about playing for Coach Johnson, and then two, talk about what that formula was. How did you guys? Because you already told me what the mindset was. You all just wanted to win. Talk about playing for Coach Johnson, and also how the program kind of instilled that mindset in literally like a 3 month span. Like, I know how short the summer is and the fall prep work is. Like, just tell me how that process worked and how you even got to where you were at. Because I know you said you didn't win at the end, but in the end of the day, I think we're winning as a program just off of how well everybody competed off of that year.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Starting off with Coach Johnson, that's my guy. I love that man from the bottom of my heart for giving me an opportunity to compete in the Big Ten. When a lot of people probably think I would have been able to, but just the
Yeah.
intensity and the passion he brings every single day. I know when they played, it was Maryland. They played Maryland, and they had the coach cam on him, and no, it was Ohio State. Excuse me, Ohio State, and a lot of people actually passion was about the whole game. And I'm sitting there to myself, that's how every single day is that finally get to see it. He was a player, so he knows the grind. He kept it through that. So he's very relatable. He's great. He cared about if he hurt, sick. He's not anybody. He had a lot of experience with that, unfortunately. A lot of injuries in the past 2 years. But he'll never
Right.
force guys to play. He genuinely cares about guys. But it's like that's hard to find, especially in the first year head coach who feels he has a lot of pressure to win. His big thing is he's a player. So they and yeah, I think we're just a bunch of guys who were brought together from a lot of different rounds. And I don't think anybody expected us to do what we did, starting off 10-1, going into Michigan and beating Michigan for Coach Johnson's first Big Ten win. Man, it was just, I think brotherhood is the best way I can use to describe it. I know that might be an overused term, but everybody generally liked each other. Everybody generally cared about each other. We wanted everybody to succeed, even if that meant one game you may not play as much. That's just kind of the group of guys we were, and I think a lot of that had to do with experience. We had a lot of seniors and all the fifth year guys, and as I mentioned earlier, we just all wanted to win. A lot of us had never been to the NCAA tournament. That's something we really wanted to do. And like you mentioned, the offseason's short, but I think having that experience, a lot of guys who have been through the grind, been through the process before, that really aided us. And as you can see, I think we were top 5 in the nation in least turnovers a game. So we valued the ball, took care of the ball. I think that had to do with the experience, man. I think that was really a big part of our success.
No, 100%. That's huge. We know, like, from basketball standpoint, turnovers will kill a team. Like, if you're losing a turnover battle, you most likely lost the game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I don't know, you can lose a lot of battles, but if you lose that battle, you lose the game. And I think that is a direct credit to experience. It's
Yeah.
like you're probably not as sped up. You've been there, you felt it. And like you said, it seems like nobody had any egos on the team. I think that's a testament to y'all, and also I think a testament to how he recruited. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to recruit a player from a basketball standpoint, but it's another thing to recruit a player from the mental standpoint of who he is as a person. And, like, will this player
Absolutely.
mesh with this player, right? How can we do that? So I feel like that's kind of how it started. From a like a basketball standpoint, how was it like? How was he how would you describe him as a coach? Like, would it be like a specific like strengths from like offensive standpoint, defensive standpoint, kind of hands on, hands off? How did that look for you? You've had a lot of coaches in the past, so how was Coach
Right.
Johnson when it came to you?
Very hands on, man. Very hands on. He was in the drills, being an example, showing us exactly how he wanted things done offensively and defensively. He wasn't scared to go out there and get dirty a little bit to say.
Yeah,
But I would definitely say I would say it's a good balance between offense and defense. But he has a very smart mind when it comes to X's and O's. Because some of the things he
mhm.
would draw up and practice in huddles, I was just like, wow, I don't even know how he came up with that, to be honest. And some of the sets and plays we have, man, I'm just like, wow, this guy is actually very smart when it comes to X's and O's. And as a coach, you might say, well, they're the ones out there doing it, but I just a big credit to him because some of the things he would draw up and have us do offensively and defensively, man, I don't know if that would have had the same result if we would have had a different coach in that situation. So very hands-on guy, very involved offensively and defensively, along with the rest of his staff, Coach Jenkins, Coach Kemp, and Coach Thorson. All great guys, very hands-on, very vocal, and just great leaders all around.
For sure. No, yeah, I mean, I do remember like Coach Johnson was assistant coach when I was playing last couple of years with Patino, and he was like kind of the guards type guy because we do like perimeter and posting, so he
Hmm.
was really close to the guards. And I remember just how hands on he was with all the drills, and whenever it was his scout, like he was in it. Like compared to any of the other assistant coaches, like it just seemed like you said he was in it, like he was moving, like he was in it, like he was playing. And yeah, to your point, when you see a guy doing it, exactly how it needs to be done, like that's so much different. I mean, he's been
Right.
there. I feel like you brought it up earlier. Like Ben Johnson's like your prototypical players coach. I feel like it's what's needed.
Yeah.
It's that coach that has been there, that gets it, that gets when you down, how to motivate you, but still comes with it every day. And yeah, like you just said, like if you're not doing it right, he's not scared to get out there and do it. Because it's one thing to tell
Right.
you to do something; it's another thing to show someone how to do it. And
Yeah.
I think that's super important. That's what separates them. That's why I'm hyped. A lot of alumni are hyped for Ben being there because we know how important that is. Like we know how important it is to
Yeah.
have a guy that can connect and like be real with you. Like just understand like somewhat. Obviously, he won't be a 19-year-old, but he can get as close to a 19-year-old as a lot of coaches out there. And I
Right.
know of a lot of coaches out there. So yeah, man, that's dope to hear. Talk a little bit. Let's talk just general. Your that student athlete life kind of for you and just this typical
Mhm.
student athlete. So first topic I want to talk about is the transfer portal and just you actually like making your way here by way of the transfer portal, which is dope. And I think it's a lot of great stories around transfer portal. I think it's super important. And obviously, there's just a lot of topics and conversations and rules have changed and COVID and whatever it may be, a lot of circumstances, have affected what the transfer portal is and what people think of it. So I just want you to talk a little bit just about that process of the transfer portal and just kind of your thoughts on kind of how it is now and agree, disagree, whatever you may have it.
Right. Yeah. All in all, I think the transfer portal is a blessing and a curse. I think there's two sides to it. For me, it was definitely a blessing. I got to play 4 years of college basketball, get a degree, and I was blessed to get another year from the NCAA and earn my master's in 1 year and play basketball in the Big Ten. That's great. For a lot of people that had the COVID year, they played 4 years, 3 years. Now I get to transfer and play at maybe at a higher level of basketball while working towards a master's degree. That's great. But for where I have a problem with the transfer portal is for dudes who come in as freshmen and maybe don't play as much as they expected. And then
Yeah.
they're say, this coach ain't for me. This program ain't for me. I'm out of here. I kind of have a problem with that, because nobody said it was going to be easy. I think a lot of this generation doesn't work as hard, maybe, or have the same fire as previous generations. I think a lot of things were handed to some of these kids. They're just now the transfer portal, and you have a successful career somewhere else, by all means, I don't wish bad on anybody at all. I hope everybody succeeds. But I just think a lot of these kids don't really want to work and earn their spot. And I kind of have a problem with that. That's just me.
No, I completely agree. I think it's almost something where I mean, I'm on both sides of it too. Like you, I'm never gonna tell somebody, yo, because we've all seen where literally it really might be the program, it might be the coach. It just can't
Right,
work. But then it's more times than not. A lot of people, to quote Dame, running from the grind, and so it's like,
right,
which route do you want to go? And it's almost like you need to get like a 1 or 2 year type thing on it. Like you gotta go. You can't transfer until after your second year, or unless it's like an injury or a real reason. But you can't just freely transfer because you're not
yeah,
playing after your freshman year. Like you said, like some of the best freshmen don't get to play. Like Zach LaVine didn't start; he made it to the league. You know what I mean? Like
right,
it can't be an
yeah,
excuse. But I agree, it's both sides to it, and that's why I wanted to talk through that. And the reason I want to talk through that is just because it's obviously a topic on next topic
mhm,
here, um, social media, and that's something that I wanted to talk about a little bit here. Life as an athlete right now. So, I mean, when I played 2011, I literally I started like our Snapchat for the first time for our team. So like that's how
okay,
social media was during that time. It just wasn't like that. Like Twitter, Instagram, it was fine, but it wasn't like we were
right,
kind of doing a little bit and obviously progressed, even till my senior year, and then till now. And so I just want to talk a little bit just on your thoughts on it, difficulties, what made live. Like you talked about this generation, it's a little different now.
yeah,
It's a lot different. I'm saying it's a little different. It's a lot different, the landscape. So I just want to talk a little bit about it, man. Talk about just your life as an athlete in it. Do you ignore it? Can you ignore it? Do most ignore it? What does it look like these days? Because when I played, Patino had us literally just get off Twitter. We couldn't, it was
okay,
banned. They couldn't even see it on our phone. And it's like this day and age, you can't do that. Like you literally might miss out on an NIL branded message. So talk a little bit about it, man, and how do you kind of stay focused with everything that is social media in the 2020s?
right. Yeah, for me, I'm not really a huge social media guy. Um, obviously I have Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that good stuff. And I go on it, I'm not somebody who's like, no, I don't go on social media. I'm on social media. But with that being said, I'm not somebody who's, huge on social media, always on it, always having to see what someone has to say about me or seeing what people are saying about the Gopher team. I was always more so focused on the guys who are going to be on the court and are going to be influencing the program firsthand. That's just kind of how I am as a person. But obviously, like you said, it's hard to ignore everything. So you see things, whether it be from Big Ten Network or from a fan who has 3 followers, but they just tweet all stuff Gopher. You're going to see stuff. It happens.
Right.
And you just take it. You just take it with a grain of salt. You really don't deep into it. 'Cause at the end of the day, like I said, you just need to worry about the guys in the room that are going to be on the court battling with you. But in this generation, I think social media has done great things, and I think it's done some bad things. I think it's given kids who may not have got recognized some recognition, and that's maybe jump started their career. And now like Colin Sexton, for example. Colin Sexton was not really recognized in high school, and Hoop Diamond started following him. He did great on the EYBL circuit. He was a lottery pick. Now he's making millions in the NBA with the Utah Jazz. Like that's a great story. But I think it also sets the example for younger generations when we got young kids worrying about more so how they'll do on social media as opposed to their game, if that makes sense. Like kids worrying about, oh, I'm trying to do this move so it'll look cool on the highlight instead of worrying about winning the game or getting that defensive stop or taking that charge. So there's kind of like the transfer portal. I said there's 2 sides to it, um, and there are also 2 extremes. But that's just the way I view it. I don't know how you think about it because you said it was different when you was playing.
No, for sure. First shout out my guy Tyler at Hoop Diamonds, because that is a dope
Yeah,
story how that happened.
yeah,
But yeah, man, it's interesting. I mean, I see both sides. I agree with you. Currently, like most know, I'm in sports marketing with a lot of athletes right now, and so like obviously, I can't sit here and say I wasn't working on a social media campaign for one of my athletes today, right? But like, I also get to the point in what you're saying, like they were pro athletes. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
when it comes to college players and high school players, like you kind of have to find a focus and kind of not be worried about those things. And I think that comes from the parents and the coaches. Unfortunately, a lot of coaches are
Yeah.
worried about those things these days. But like, it sucks when you see kids that are looking for cameras. That's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna say. If you like, it's not cool to look for a camera. Like, there's never like growing up, even in the NBA, like guys weren't looking for cameras. They might run into a camera and by accident, like wave at it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
literally, they would act cool and walk away. You know what I mean? Like, act like you've been there before. Like,
Right.
it's
Yep.
crazy. So it just that part is unfortunate, and like the little intricacies of the game is kind of getting lost. Like, they are way worried about
Yeah.
cooking someone versus defense and things like that. And yeah, that hurts it. And I think from a psychology standpoint and a mental health standpoint, I think it affects you too. Like you said, like
Yeah.
some
For
guys
sure.
can't escape it. And I saw guys early on. That's why I can't imagine now, because when I was playing, it was early on. Like the limited tweets that there were, I would see starters on my squad, look at them, and then it was like they just be thrown off. Then all of a sudden, 3, 4 bad games in a row, they're just forcing it. And so I know
Yeah.
now it's way more content out there and way more tweets and way more social media posts about these players. So I know it's a lot harder. And at the end of the day, we can't not have it. It's inevitable. So you just got to
Yeah.
find ways to work around it and then teach the young hoopers like keeping the main thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are hoopers where you can still look and use them as like the blueprint, like a Giannis type, like a Kawhi type, like just
Yep.
stand to just the basics and not worrying about that stuff in a way like a Dame Lillard, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
guys out there that
Favorite
kind
player.
of still preach it. Exactly. There's guys that still preach it that kind of stay in that lane. But unfortunately, it's just hard. It's hard. Like,
Yeah.
we'll get through it though. We'll get through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Last few things before we head out here. I just want to talk a little bit, man. Talk a little bit about if there's a memory, your favorite memory, or just favorite experience, just playing for Ben Johnson, playing for the Gophers, playing at Williams, all three. But what was that number one moment? While wearing the maroon and gold. I know it was a short year, but I feel like it was a memorable year. I feel like a lot of people remember your squad because it was Ben's inaugural season. So just tell me, what was that number one moment that sticks out for you?
Number one moment, man.
You can come up with
I'm
two.
probably okay. I'll go two. Um, First one I'll just say probably starting off 9-0. I know that's a lot of moments in one, but just starting off 9-0, going non-conference undefeated. A lot of people didn't have us doing that. I really think from there we kind of gained the trust and gained the support of a lot of Gopher fans,
Yeah.
and that was real special to me. A lot of guys bonded because of that, and we actually thought to ourselves, okay, we actually can do this. We can play. We came together, and we can do something with this. So that was probably number one. And then number two, getting Coach Johnson's first Big Ten win at Michigan. That
Yeah.
was real huge for us. We came off a loss against Michigan State. That was a close game. I think we lost by single digits. Then we had Michigan right after that at Michigan. They got Hunter Dickinson, a lot of McDonald's All-Americans. Nobody expected us to win that game at all. Nobody, like not even close. And we came in at Michigan, got a big time win.
Huge.
Everybody contributed.
Yeah.
Everybody contributed to that game. Me and Luke had a big first half. Eric Curry, tremendous defense on Hunter Dickinson. Did a great job on whatever knee he had left, in his career. And then Peyton and JMO brought us home in the second half. Huge second half, man. Great, great team win. That was definitely one of my favorite moments playing for the Gophers.
Man, it's really nothing better than winning a road game in the Big Ten in
Yeah.
college basketball. Like, it's not much better. There's not many better feelings. Talk a little bit about those road spots in that year. What was the toughest places for you to play? The toughest place for you to play in the Big Ten, and then what was your favorite place? And it could be both, the same one.
Yeah. Toughest place. I might have to go with Breslin Center on Michigan State in the A zone. Yeah,
Whew.
they're pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole lower bowl full of students.
Yeah.
Excellent, sure. They all they jump the game. And yeah, that was probably one of the toughest places to play. And we lost by a buzzer beater, so that didn't make it any better. So they let us hear after that game. Favorite, probably go to Indiana. I really like playing at gym. How the sides go up real high. A lot of red and white, real historic venue. You know, you got Mike Woodson over here coaching. So I'll probably go Indiana. Indiana was real cool. That was a real dope gym, very historic. You know, a lot of great players have played there. Yeah.
Yeah, those are two great choices. Those are two great choices. I'd probably say the same too. I keep it third as the wild card, but Michigan State, they right there. You right. The Izone, they right behind the
Yeah.
bench too. Woo! They
Yep.
on lines, they be knowing
Yeah.
everything about you too. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different. And they there early, Indiana too.
Early. Yeah.
Early. Beating you
Yeah.
there. I'd be like, dang, what
Yeah, they dedicated.
they're dedicated. Michigan State tough. And Indiana, I'd say the same thing. That was because you can walk in there and get 30 ball quick because it'd be loud,
Oh yeah.
it's intimidating too, just the structure and how high it is up, but it
Yep.
do feel historic. Like it just feels historic. Like you
Yeah,
just
it does.
walking, I'm in history. Like I'm in Hoosiers. They won't even hear it, but it just feel like it. It's just straight history. Bobby Knight's around or something.
Yep.
It's dope. Both of those, and the third one I always like kind of having an outside for me is at Purdue, because it'd be a tough spot too.
We didn't play there. We didn't play there this year. I heard great things though. I heard it gets loud.
Crazy, it's crazy, and it's
Yeah.
smaller than both places, but just as loud. So that's why it's tough, and it's kind of a shape, kind of like Indiana, where you're kind of a pit down low. It's the same thing there,
Mhm.
but smaller and louder. Yeah, it's tough to play. So that's why I felt for them boys this year. I mean, imagine playing against a giant there. Like it's not it's like so. I mean, I know you had to go up against them a little bit. So talk a little bit
Man.
before we wrap up, man, about playing Andre the Giant, Zach Edey over at Purdue, and then also, your Gopher boys this season, right? Just talk a little about the
Yep.
guys you play with, what you saw, what you've seen so far, guys like JMO that have played, and just how they've competed and what you've seen from the guys this far this season.
Yeah. Man, starting off with Edie. When I say there's literally no answer, like there's nothing you can do. Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Man, my guy Eric Curry was fighting for his life. Like they call a foul on him. He's just like, "Ref, what do you want me to do? Like I got my forearm in his back. He doesn't feel it, and you still calling the foul." Then Trayton had to come in. He's picking up fouls. I'm just like, we can't dig down on them because they got Jaden Ivey on the perimeter. They got shooters all over the place. Man, and I'm gonna throw Kofi in there too from Illinois. Just
Ooh. Yeah.
no no answer. There's nothing you can do, but yeah, that dude's massive. Both of them massive, man. But the Gophers this year, man, I heard you talking about a little earlier. That they're playing hard. They're real young, very young. They got four freshmen. One Caden Betts redshirting this year, so he'll be a freshman next
Mhm.
year. And kind of like last year, they brought a lot of guys in through the portal. I think for returners, the only one that played major minutes might have been JMO, if I'm right. I could be wrong about that. You know,
Yeah.
Gaston, Torres,
Yeah.
Brockton Dawson, all
Exactly.
experienced guys, and they're competing, man. They're competing. So I think throughout the year, they're going to start meshing together a little bit more as guys come back from injury. I know Pharrell was in protocol for concussion for a little bit. Braden's still hurt. Dawson was hurt for a little bit. But I think when you got a culture set that Ben Johnson has set, and you got guys who are willing to work and willing to win, I think it's a recipe for success. I really do. I think they're going to continue to fight. They're going to continue to play hard, and as the season goes on, I think they're going to continue to improve. And like I said, they're real young, so the future is really bright because they have a great recruiting class coming in next year as well. So I think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to be all right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree that the recipe for success that has been built over there is there. And
Yep.
like you said, the recruiting class is coming in next year too. Big fan of those guys.
Yep.
And then like you said, there's injuries this year, and then like even before we even suited up for the season, guys like Caden, but then like Parker and Isaiah, like guys are
Forgot
around when
about
you were
Parker
there
and Zay.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
mean, like the energy they bring, the experience it's something about experience. I don't care if you're playing or you're not, but sitting there and just seeing it
Yep.
through, like there's a lot of experience you get. The game becomes slower in a way. It's hard to
Yep.
explain, but it does. And I don't know. I think the recipe for success, these freshmen that have gotten quote unquote punched in their mouth this year, it only helps them.
Yep.
You know, it can't get any harder than going playing Zach Edey at Purdue. Like that's
Nope.
literally all they have to think about anytime. Like they can't. Like we had Ola Joseph out there struggling. Like
Yeah,
he's six
fighting.
seven, fighting though, fighting, doing
Yeah.
all he can. Like I felt for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for the recipe for success, and you know, like all things you said about Coach Johnson, I think he's the right guy. I think most alumni think that he's the right guy. So I'm excited for what's to come. But
Yeah.
as we wrap up, man, talk a little bit about what you're doing now, what's next, and how Gopher fans can stay connected, and how boosters and everybody around the Gopher community can help.
Yeah, man. So right now, I'm recovering from knee surgery. I had surgery after this season last year. I kind of played through an injury the whole year. I had some real bad tendonitis in my knee, and I couldn't sit out. I wanted to be out there playing, last chance playing in the Big Ten, so I had to play. It just got progressively worse and worse. So I finally got it repaired. August 1st is when I had the surgery. So I'm recovering for that. I have an agent. So the plan is now to continue to get my knee stronger, rehab, and get ready for next season professionally, and go ahead somewhere in Western Europe to play, somewhere like a Netherlands or a London, Germany, Spain, countries like that, and go get my feet wet and get my rookie season started, and hopefully have a nice career playing. And the plan is to coach after that. I really want to get into college coaching, become an assistant somewhere, and help young men, get an opportunity just like I had, to earn a degree, play college basketball, and just touch their lives the way a lot of people have done for me. So that's the plan for me. Go play professionally and get into coaching.
Dope. That's what's up, man. I mean, that's a good plan. I feel like you're on your way. You're gonna go make a little bit of money over there, though. You make
Yeah.
a little bit of money overseas and come back. But that's what's up, man. Well, best wishes, speedy recovery. Keep grinding. We know how hard it is, but I think all Gopher fans are happy, that you did put your body on line that last
Yeah.
season and come out and compete, because we probably wouldn't have been 9-0. So really appreciate that. And yeah, man, appreciate talking to you today. Appreciate your
Sure.
time. Glad to have you back on here, just to kind of get some updates on what's going on once
Sure.
you get, healed here. But for that episode of Golden Dunkers Live, I'm Kendal Shell. It's EJ Stevens. We'll see you guys next time.
Sir.